Irrigation side. But what?
6 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. Board members are present. One of our student reps is present. And so we will turn over to Janelle for communication.
All right, so we'll start with our update from our administrative members. So Cassie, if you want to come up and let us know what's happening at the elementary school, that would be great. Good evening.
There's a lot more than this one pager happening at the elementary, but these are the highlights for you tonight. Just wanted to recap on our author visit that we had last week. We partnered with Great River Regional Library. They sponsored a Minnesota author, Margie Preuss is her name. She is from Minnesota and currently lives up in Duluth. And so she came and spoke to all of our students, kindergarten through 5th grade, and shared her passion for writing and shared with us that we are all storytellers. And so students were able to connect with her and connect with many of her stories that have Minnesota themes throughout. One is about the lift bridge in Duluth. And that very next day, there was something in the newspaper about how the first ship went under the lift bridge for the season. So that was kind of fun. March food drive success. Last week, we presented Paynesville Community Center with over $1,200 in cash donations and over 900 pounds in food donations. So Allison was very appreciative and wanting to pass along a huge thank you to our families for giving back to our community. We had our late start on Monday this week where teachers attended Unit 8 of the letters training. And I put in there that this is also part of the Minnesota Read Act that you've been hearing about. And so we did some training on Monday, really focusing on the connection of reading and writing and how those two really build off of one another. And so we'll continue Unit 8 in May during our next 2-hour late start. Kindergarten registration update. I know at the last board meeting, we talked about sections and numbers and things like that. At this point, we're kind of at those same numbers that we were at 2 weeks ago. So we are continuing to monitor those numbers. And I was asked if we had made any more phone calls or reached out to families, and we have reached out to every single person on our list at this point. So we'll follow up and continue to monitor. With this busy time of year, monthly grade level and department meetings, looking at our master schedule as well, looking for what are some tweaks that we can make for efficiency and effectiveness, considering bringing the teams to consider recess before lunch. Sometimes that builds up appetite and promotes a smoother transition back into the classroom, looking at less food waste and decreasing peer conflict. So those are conversations that we'll be having in the very near future as we plan for next year. Also looking ahead, we are MCA testing starting tomorrow with our reading, followed by math, and then our 5th graders will take the science MCA as well at the end of the month. As a reminder, MCAs are one tool to our picture of who our students are and how we are performing in those academic areas. And then I included the May Field Day date so families can get that on the calendar. I know that's a big event for our students as parents and families attend and watch them participate in different field day events.
Questions for Cassie? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. And with that, we'll invite up David Erline, our secondary school principal, see what's happening at the secondary.
All right, good evening. Well, just a few updates for you. We have dates finalized for some of our end of the year activities. We have our Dollars for Scholars breakfast will be on May 17th. May 19th will be baccalaureate and the honors banquet. And with May 24th being the graduation ceremony at 7. So the setup in the pack will be the same, only it's going to be turned a little bit. So we'll have the board on the left-hand side, and then I'll be reaching out to you to help out with programs and some of the seating and just kind of greeting people as they come in there after the car parade. We're gonna try to think of ways to keep the bleachers for immediate family. There were a lot of people that came to the ceremony last year that didn't have somebody graduating, and I feel like there were some people standing, and so we're going to be strategic on how we do the seating so that we can make sure that our parents and grandparents and siblings can have preferred seating in there. So we're just reconfiguring it a little bit. We had 58 graduates last year, and right now we are at 82. So by turning it, it'll be wider, and we'll be able to add some more bleachers in there. So work in progress. It is Severe Weather Awareness Week. The tornado drill is typically, the statewide drill is on Thursday, but we will be doing MCA tests that day. So we're going to have our drill on Friday. Speaking of that, the MCAs, the reading starts tomorrow for grades 6, 7, 8, and 10, and they'll test tomorrow and Thursday. And next week it'll be math, and then the week after that will be science. We are doing things a little bit differently with who is proctoring the test, and Jesse Rasmussen has done a great job of kind of revamping it and hopefully giving everyone a little bit more ownership when we take those tests. We were supposed to, students were supposed to take the ACT today, and we had some network issues. We had about 20 students that were registered for it. They did get it figured out toward the end of the day today, but they rescheduled it for next Tuesday. We are in the early stages of planning the 5th grade orientation. SAD usually takes that on, and so we have some staffing things with that, but we're gonna see if the students want to continue to work with that. And then a shout out, Gerald and I had the pleasure of taking part in the FFA officer and scholarship interviews last week, and it's about a 4-hour process, and so there were a lot of interviews, and it just rekindles your hope. There are just some really great kids. We had students as young as 8th grade who were vying for officer positions, and we had 4 seniors who interviewed for scholarships. And just want to shout out to Natalie Uch for just running an outstanding FFA program and ag program and everything she teaches. She works really hard and just does a wonderful job. Any questions for me?
Great. Rick, come on up and let us know what's happening in our activities world.
All right, good evening. Our sports and activities are underway for the spring. I know students and coaches, parents, community members are all excited to get outside, enjoy the sunshine, and get some fresh air after being cooped up for about 5.5 months. And then be able to watch our boys and girls compete. So got that going. Now our schedules are posted online. Thankfully, like I've said many times, having the facilities we have I think gives us a leg up on a lot of other schools, because we are able to provide a lot of different opportunities for practices for our many different sports that we have. So it's awesome that we can make the most out of it, especially with an outdoor sport being practiced indoors. It's not always easy, but we make the most of it. Our band and choir had their large group contest yesterday over at ACGC, and both band and choir received a superior rating. So congratulations to both of those groups. They have concerts coming up in May 6th. There's the 9th grade choir concert at 7:30. The next Monday, the 7th through 12th grade band concert, 7:30, and the Monday after that. So 3 Mondays in a row. That third Monday is 7th and 8th grade band concert at 7:30. So lots going on there. As we all know, the spring weather can change in an instant. I was just outside about an hour, I didn't a little bit ago, but about an hour ago, we had beautiful clear skies, and all of a sudden we had 3 different, about minute-long rain showers, and then you look up and there's not really, like, where is it coming from? It's just beautiful and sunshine, and so weather can change in an instant. So just always be ready to be flexible, I guess, is what I'm asking for all of our families and our participants and coaches and everything. We try to keep everybody's updated as we can, sending out emails and having Miranda post things on our social media platforms and getting things updated on our online schedules. So I'm really having a tough time. Pun intended, but I've kind of struck out with trying to find umpires so far this spring. I've had a lot of people either say, I'm not really interested. I've had some no responses, and people who are like, well, okay, I'll do it if you really need somebody. So if there's anybody out there, we're always looking for people for softball and baseball, JV, C squad, junior high. We're looking for people to help out. And I had one parent reach out today for some junior high baseball games, and certainly be there watching their son. But if anybody else is looking for somebody who's interested, maybe somebody who just graduated recently, who's got some time, good extra way to make some money. So if they don't have their gear, that's perfectly fine. We can have them stand behind the pitcher's mound or the pitcher's circle and ask them to do the best they can and give them some training on it. And we have some people inside of our building that are experienced umpires. So unfortunately, they're getting asked to do high school league level, and they're also coaches too. So, and if anybody knows anybody, please let me know. And then I'd like to thank the custodians. We had all of a sudden the snow melted in a couple days, and then we had a scrimmage just pop up for baseball. We went to Litchfield, and softball had a scrimmage pop up on Friday. We basically got it scheduled in like 36 hours, so we didn't have any porta potties out there right away. And we ended up getting those delivered on Saturday, which was obviously a day after we played. But I just asked Kenny, is it possible to get them moved? And then he came to me a couple hours later today and said, yep, they're all moved. So they didn't get dropped off precisely where we wanted them and where they'd be used. So we got them spread out to the far end of the campus, way over there by the junior high softball, JV baseball, JV softball, and varsity softball. And then we have 2 at the elementary as well. So thanks to Kenny and his crew and getting our fields ready and drug and garbage is out and water is out, all ready to go for our fields now too. So we have running water out there. So, and many other things that they do. So if you guys have any questions for me.
Thank you. All right. So our community ed director is not back yet. They had their first golf meet today. And so they did not arrive. But a couple of things I want to just highlight. Our preschool program is thriving. We were actually able to add a section of our preschool programming, which is really exciting. I think there's a couple of things that as Chris and I have been talking about preschool programming, and that's a huge part of our community ed program, right? But it's also making sure that there's some consistent programming. There's opportunities when we fill our preschool at this time of year. If we have transition over the summer and we don't have space for them, that doesn't create an opportunity for families to enroll their students. And so we're excited about the opportunity to add some preschool programming and hope that then feeds into the future in our kindergarten and elementary programming. So we're excited about that. Other than that, I'll wait to hear anything more from Chris, but as always, if you have questions about community education, don't hesitate to reach out. But I just really wanted to highlight that preschool change while we await our golf update. So she has taken on a coaching role within our golf program. So that's that. And our buildings and grounds director is actually umping. So there you go, to speak to how we're looking for support. So some updates from him. So I talked about the heat exchanger. What was really tricky about the timing of our heat exchanger going down was that we had some colder days than we were hoping without heat. And so just a thanks to our students and our staff. I know we had some auditorium events that ended up being colder than we ever wanted them to be. The parts have been ordered and it's going to be running so that we can make sure that everything is up to par. But just a thanks to our building here in their flexibility and understanding, and they've been great. So just an acknowledgement. Couple of issues with the water softeners at the elementary. They've noticed that they're having some rust spots in the dishwasher and hard water spots that Ken has had called to look at. Places or parts have been ordered to replace kind of the rusting, but there's just really a question is if they're working properly, because the amount of water that's running into the building and the amount of water that's generating through those softeners just doesn't seem to match. So then when you're having harder water on your equipment, it just, think about last month when I talked about, actually, I don't remember if Ken talked about it or not, but the ovens in the kitchen, they had to be replaced again because of the hard water that comes through and the steam that goes into the ovens. So those are some things that, when we just have to try to stay on top of with our water systems. And so Ken just wanted you to be aware that water softeners are being looked at the elementary. Door 8, the middle school canopy. So if you look, when you drive up on the south side of the building and you look at door 8's canopy, you'll notice it's got a little bit of shimmy. It's got a little slope to it. So what we did is we had BCI. BCI is they were the contractor that worked on the pack, so they're very familiar with our spaces. We had them out to take a look at it, and what they found is that one of the support poles is rusted off at the bottom, and so then that side of the canopy is settling. So what they're doing is they've kind of gotten a hold of the prints to take a look at structurally what they need to be doing. Obviously, that's not something that we're going to leave long term because we don't want that to lead to larger issues. One of the things that we did notice this winter was the window panes were shifting, and that was one of our key indicators that something just wasn't quite right. So we're grateful that we've got somebody working on that for us, and we'll keep the board updated as soon as we know what the final resolution is on that. The emergency lighting, there were some significant delays in the parts to keep that up and moving, but Ken said that's installed and working properly now. So, and really, you don't know about that, and you don't know if it's working until you have an emergency. And thankfully, we didn't have an emergency, so it was a good thing. But and then he also wanted me to just highlight that. When BCI was out to talk about the middle school canopy, he asked them about some of the softball complex, and so the field work is really pretty localized, but the grandstand or the announcing center, and then where we would have people to be able to look, they're roughing up some plans for us so we can take a look at moving that forward. But other than that, those are the updates from Ken. If there's any questions, he is certainly available for questions or anything that you want from me. He's really good about keeping me up to date too. So any questions there? Okay. So those are the updates.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again. All right. So moving on to strategic planning. So I did put in, I'm not going to pull it up and highlight it because it hasn't changed, but the traditional strategic plan is linked as number 1. But I am going to highlight the strategic plan tracker, which is the second attachment. I'll get this casted for people to see. And I will come all the way over to, and I realized when I published it, I didn't have the tab dated, so I apologize for that. But hopefully if you were clicking through and looking at it, you were able to see, this tab. I'm also going to make this a little bit smaller. Really, I guess what you're going to see, I have to make it just a tiny bit bigger so I can read it. Let me go about 80% here. Okay, so what you're gonna notice is on the right-hand side, there's a notation of any updates. And so I'll just kind of walk through and highlight some of those. So we've been using, so 7 Mindsets and Character Strong are the two social emotional learning curriculum that the district has been using to really adhere to and align with the strategic plan goal about providing social emotional curriculum opportunities for grades K-12. And what we're finding is that that the secondary implementation of 7 Mindsets has been really sporadic. And we've looked into why that is, what some of the things that are working and not working. And ultimately, Character Strong seems to have a little bit better alignment, and whether it's curriculum, whether it's supports, whether it's strategies that are a little bit, they're just a little bit more streamlined. So our team of social emotional learning individuals are going to be really evaluating if it makes the most sense to have Character Strong at the secondary and so then as our students file up from the elementary, it's again a consistent curriculum. You know, the final decision hasn't been made, but it's being evaluated right now to make sure that we've got the most, I guess I would say, able-readied resources to pass off to teachers to make sure that that is being implemented with fidelity across the board. So some work on that. The PBIS, so PBIS, just as a reminder, is the Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. And so we have, this has been our second year of implementation at the secondary. Our elementary program has been in full-fledged implementation for a few years. And so it really is about, again, having kind of those core areas of focus so that you've got, you know, we're all living and breathing the same type of language, looking for the positive ways to support behavior proactively instead of responding all the time negatively and reactively. So we are in the implementation stages there as well. So again, the intentional time for social emotional learning, again, evaluating moving the secondary to Character Strong. So we've got consistent implementation there as well. So the Aligned Staff Development Committee work through the strategic plan. So I think our Thomas and is it just you, Thomas, on the Professional Development Committee? So we, at one of our last Professional Development Committee meetings, we reviewed the strategic plan and we talked through, you know, the areas and really found that, gosh, they needed some time to digest that, look at it, because there were things that they just hadn't necessarily aligned to. So that was some good proactive work that took place, and they're going to continue as that professional development is planning, and they're looking at the future. They'll continue to reference what's in our strategic plan. I think the other piece that's important is we've talked a lot about the results of our survey that came in. And I think it really makes sense for us to, over the course of the summer, review the survey results and how does that align with our strategic plan? And then what are the areas that we need to bring in as a focus, whether it's just education, whether it's resources, whether it's just alignment of conversation. We just haven't done that yet. So I think it'll be important to do once we have those survey results and then figure out, is there something that needs to align with professional development? Okay, so that'll be coming in the future. You'll see that the next few areas, there are no change, and I tried to identify if there was no change. I am working on pulling together the wellness committee so that we can really take a look at establishing the wellness committee would have a couple of different roles within the strategic plan. What I'm finding is that there were, and maybe board members, you can give me a little bit of historical data on this, but what I'm finding is that we had a health and safety committee and a wellness committee. And I believe that over the course of time, the wellness committee was intended to align and support our health insurance plan, because when the district held Blue Cross Blue Shield, there were funds that were specific to wellness. Okay, is anybody remembering that? No? Okay,
Went the other way.
it went the other way. So,
Health and safety went with the Blue Cross Blue Shield Wellness Committee, worked on policy for wellness in our classrooms.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, for the community members that, I had those mixed around. So the health and safety was in alignment to the Blue Cross Blue Shield, money that came out. And then the wellness committee was about, aligning policy. So those two were really working on getting them back to kind of the intent and the purpose. The requirement to have that health and safety with the funding that came through Blue Cross Blue Shield is not there anymore. But having that wellness component is obviously part of our strategic plan. So we're looking to revamp that. Okay. Elementary family groups, those are continued to be, those are in continued implementation. Operationalize a 4-year plan at the secondary and family groups at the elementary. So the 4-year plan at the secondary. So I think one of the things that why that hasn't had much movement is because there's been a lot of work to take a look at the schedule. So if you think about over the course of our conversation, we've had extensive conversation about a 4-period day, a 5-period day. What does that look like with our connect time, with our advisory time? And I think until you kind of know where that's going to align and land, you kind of have to have your structure and skeleton in place first. Our hope is that we can settle in and not have to have changes to that schedule. I think families and students and equally as important, and really our staff want consistency. So I think that's important. We have continued implementation of, I talked about the family groups. Foundational work needs to take place with our capstone projects. That's again, no change. We haven't done any additional work on those. You'll see, consider how information received by the community survey can be used toward this goal. So when we talked about a year ago about a profile of a graduate, there was just kind of some concern about like, are we pigeonholing kids, and are there things that are, and that was never really the intent. I think our survey gave us some really good information that maybe we can just take a look at and see, is the work that we're doing in all of our pathways for our secondary students, is it aligned to the skills and the abilities that our community wanted our students to have? So I think there's some work that can take place with the survey that was done, and see how that evolves over the course of time. So there was more on the top of conversation. The last piece of continuing implementation. So when we talked about sliding fees, really this was about our preschool program has developed and published sliding fees. And really what that comes down to is we don't ever, as a district, want to have financial barriers as access to programming. And so really there's two pieces to that. One is having the scale published for families so that they don't have to ask. But the other piece that I just really want to acknowledge is that our administrative team, I would say, especially our activities department, through music, through the arts, through the activities, they've really done a nice job making sure that finances are not a barrier to participation and opportunity. So I just wanted to raise that and let you know that those scales have been established and published through our community ed brochure, and in the past that hasn't been there and published that way. So those are the highlighted changes that I'll call out. Any questions, comments, or added information?
No, just I guess somewhat of a question for now as far as
Okay.
set of mindset. So if
Yep.
that's, if that's decided to take that out of the secondary and
Yep.
just continue moving forward, that'd be something that would be taken out over a period of time. So as classes graduate, you get less and less that were under that old, under the 7 mindset, or you get something that's going to be kind of a implementation, just go forward with it. And it's,
So based on what I'm observing, I don't think we had, there wasn't a wide, robust integration of
Yeah.
7 mindsets. So I
Yeah.
don't know that our students would observe any change or any shift.
good.
And that was, yeah, because otherwise it's a big concern to shift something midstream.
Mhm.
And that would never be the intent, is to disrupt a process. So it would be kind of, again, I think one of the things that we're really trying to do is to work with our social worker to, at the elementary level, there's a different level of collaboration. Now, granted, elementary and secondary programming is just markedly different.
Yeah.
I mean, we just have to, you've got a elementary classroom is kind of your core classroom. At the secondary, you've got kids moving all over. It's just much more fluid. So we're really trying to problem solve some of the best ways to have our social worker collaborate at a grade level and be able to really target the use of, like, here's our social emotional learning curriculum. And really the intent behind that, I think I just want to kind of maybe clarify what that means, is just not making assumption that kids have skills using an explicit instruction to teach skills. Some of it could be everything from, understanding that these students, they have, so at the foundation elementary, they come up with, they have a foundation of problem solving, conflict resolution, and we'll just use those two. Okay.
Yep.
So when those kids then come into 6th grade, and that seems to be a really logical place to kind of start, to have that 6th grade kind of targeted, and it could be maybe 7th, but but really kind of expand on what are the things that the kids already know, and then what are the skills that we need to build for them as they're coming into this middle school world that's just different.
Yep.
So doing some legwork that way.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, it's not a hard, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
You answered my
Yep.
question.
Okay. Anything else on the strategic plan? All right. So the next piece I wanted to walk through with you is just some information about the tech levy ballot discussion. So I've linked in a document, and if you want to go to slide 25, so you'll notice this is an ongoing, it's an ongoing presentation. And I'll cast it from here, but I did put in the agenda that it is starting on page 25. So if somebody wants to look at it, they are able to find that as well. So some of the things that of kind of, what's next. So the board would need to adopt a resolution by May 31st to call for a special election, which would take place on August 13th. August 13th is a primary election day. So I think there was question about whether we would have to run that on our own or if that would be run, in tandem, and it would be in tandem. Okay. So our capital project levy, it is considered a special election because we aren't set to go out for like board members or, it is a special question for us. And the board is calling for a resolution for that. So, but it's all on the same ballot. Okay, so one of the things that the board needs to decide is the ballot verbiage and the options before May 17th so that it can be ready for the May 21st board agenda. Okay, so that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about right now. Oh, I have 2 A's. I'll fix that. So some things that we need to understand about the revenue that's generated from referendums and capital project levies is that all of those have a variability. So for instance, our tech levy, our capital project levy can vary based on the property valuation changes, just like our operating referendum revenue can change and vary based on the number of students that are enrolled in the district. So when we lose students, we generate less revenue for an operating referendum, okay? When property taxes increase or property values increase, even though the tax rate remains the same, it will generate more revenue for the school district, okay? On the flip side, if when property valuations decline, the district receives less revenue, okay? So with the increased property valuation, the revenue generated at the same tax rate, which is 3.267, and that's the tax rate that was approved 10 years ago, and it's for payable 25 based on the assessed value in our taxes from 24. So that's at $435,000, $301. Okay. So with that, I want to just share with you that I've had a number of inquiries and questions about offering 2 questions and some things that I want the board to consider. And I think part of where that is coming from is just really helping to empower voters and give them some option and some choice, right? So when you have a capital project levy, like we're going to be talking about, you can only add a second question if it's for additional money, okay? And what we have all been talking about up to this point is just a straight renewal, okay? So I just wanted to call out if you have questions about, well, why don't you have 2 questions and what would be the variability with that? I just wanted to share with you what that looks like. The other thing is that if you would ask a second question, it would need to align to the technology levy criteria, okay? And it would require the language on the ballot that is going to increase your taxes, okay? So those are some of the variability that would go in. We have some surrounding neighbors who have done a capital levy renewal and new money for additional projects, okay? So that being said, I did ask for sample ballots for you to review and you can see what that looks like. Again, because the questions have been posed to me, it makes me wonder if community members are asking or thinking, will there be 2 questions? And so as board members, I want you to understand like what the variability would be with that if you wanted to consider something. Here's what the general ballot will look like. It's super consistent to what we've seen in the past. This is just the straight renewal, okay? I'm going to make that just a little bit bigger if I can, without, not sure if it's going to let me do that when I'm casting the show or casting it. So I'll read it, and then everybody can, if you have it in front of you, you can take a look at it again. But it's just really that the school board of Independent School District 741, Paynesville Area Schools, has proposed a capital project levy authorization of 3.267 times the net tax capacity of the school district. So that's the same verbiage that has been that was on the ballot 10 years ago, okay? The authorization would renew the school district's existing authorization, which is scheduled to expire after taxes payable in 2024. So that's why we're here today, because it will expire 2024, okay? The money raised by the capital project levy authorization will provide, and then you're going to see the list of the same items that were in the previous. So it's really about expanded technology. The verbiage in this area, as long as it is technology related, there is a recognition that back 10 years ago, we may have been talking about facsimiles. We may have been talking about different types of technology. It recognizes the evolution of technology. Okay. The proposed capital project levy authorization will raise approximately $435,000 for taxes payable in 2025. The first year it is to be levied, and it would be authorized for 10 years. The estimated total cost of the projects to be funded over the time period is approximately $4.3 million. Okay, same verbiage that was on the listing last time. The reason I wanted to come back and remind you about the variability is because this is based on the property valuation. It's not a change that the district is making. Okay. So then people said, okay, well, what if you asked a second question? Okay. Well, before I go there, I just want to show you kind of the tax impact of what this is going to look like, because this is not going to be an increase in the rate. Okay. But as we all know, as our property values increase, what do? We pay more. Okay. So this is a change that, and if you look over the course of time, what has happened is this is, if you would split it every year, this is what it would look like. That, let me see, I'm going to just stop sharing for a second so I can make that bigger. So let's see if there's one at the bottom where I can zoom it in a little bit.
Does anybody have it on their computer? I have it on phone.
Oh, there we go, right down there. There we go. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So what you're going to see here at the top is that the expiring authority. So in 2024, this is when it expires. Okay, that was based on the assessed value in 2023. Well, we are now living in the assessed value of 2024 to pay forward in 2025. So that's where you see the different authority. Okay. The changes for an individual's tax so if you look at a homestead, it's and we're going to look at the 275 because that's what Ellers has kind of identified as our average household value. It's $75 for the year with that at the same tax rate, the 3.267. Okay. So then the questions became, let me zoom that back out here. Let's see if I have to go. Okay. So then the question became, okay, so what if you wanted to give voters maybe an opportunity to say yes, but then maybe there should be something really targeted and specific. Over the course of time, I've talked to you about the audio enhancement system and the PA system and how high that estimate came in. So I just I said, when I was talking to Ellers, I said, okay, what if we wanted to call that system out? And what if we wanted to say, we're going to fund that separately, just for the intents and purposes of communication with you? That's what I had them do. Okay. So what would happen there? Oops, I gotta get back to. Okay. So what would happen there is you would have a second question. Okay. Now, again, please hear me. I'm not suggesting we have this, like this moves forward. What I'm suggesting is I want it to be clear with people who have said, well, why don't you have two separate questions? And so I want you as board members to understand what the implications would be of that. Okay. So if we were to call out, let's say we were going to call out our audio enhancement system, you could ask a secondary question specific to that. Okay. That's where you would plug in the value of the system, how many years you wanted it spread across, and then you would have a secondary question for that specific item. Okay. Many of our surrounding communities are not, if they have done a secondary question, it's not for something specific. It's because they just need more. Okay. Our tech levy has met our needs. I'm not suggesting that we have to do more, but I wanted to show you what people have been asking me about. Okay. And if I'm hearing the question, I kind of made an assumption that you might have been hearing the question as well. Okay. So, and then when you do a question 2, you break it down this way of your question 1, and this is exactly what was on the first question. And then you would calculate out that's the cost of that second question. Okay. So what are the things to consider? Okay. Increased revenue due to property tax values. I think that's something that is a discussion item. I went and I asked the question, I said, okay, so if the board decided that they wanted to reduce the percentage, what would that mean? Okay. If you do any variation to the question, it's no longer a renewal. Okay. It is it is just like asking a fresh ballot question. So I think that's something to consider. We've talked a lot to our community about how this is going to be a straight renewal. Okay. I have concern just about making too many changes. I also have concern asking for a second question when we've said that we're just going to be asking for a straight renewal. Okay, so those are just some of my opinions for you to consider.
The lower rate would mean we'd have to say it's a tax increase. Even
Correct.
though
Even though it would be a lower rate.
it would be a lower rate because they would be going down and it would, yeah,
Yes.
but we would be saying to them.
Correct.
Yeah. That's,
And we have, unfortunately, that's statutory language. So it's written that way, I think, to protect taxpayers so that if there's going to be, because our taxpayers have authorized the existing rate. They authorized 2.67%. That's what was authorized. So if you're going to change that, you have to communicate with your taxpayers that it is a change and it's going to increase their rate at whatever percent, even though it's different. It's not a straight renewal. Okay.
So we've had an ebb and flow in taxes and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But the 2.67 has worked for us.
3.267. Yep. It has worked for us. And there are years where it's gone down.
I don't know why we would change it.
Yeah. The other thing is with the passage of the capital levy as it is, the district can proactively plan for the audio enhancement PA system. We have that option. I mean, and the reason I say that is because you look at what let me go back to, you look at what the value is, 435. Okay. And you look at what was expiring and it's Thomas, can you read that at the top of the top? What is it?
383.
383. Okay. Now, again, do I expect property taxes to continue to rise as they are? I don't. Ellers really projected, and they projected that we are nearing that top of when it's going to settle down. And they also projected or kind of walked through that although when we look at our levy report and we have a lot of adjusted levy amounts on when we do our levy certification in December, this is never adjusted because it's always a year behind. So they use your property tax values to move it forward for a year. So this won't, it's always, it's one of the most consistent levy items because it is a year delay. You've got your valuation that takes place in this year for your payable taxes next year. Okay. And when those go down, it will change that revenue and it will go down.
So they're guaranteeing that taxes will go down. Who's doing that now? They're guaranteeing it?
Well, I don't know if I'll say they'll guarantee, but they're predicting based on the patterns, but
That would mean the inflation is gonna go away.
well,
And all
of
the,
course, if you,
everything I read about inflation is a lot of that's here to stay.
so they're not going to continue to rise.
Interested in that.
Yeah.
A second question, that's a discussion item I don't have any interest in.
Okay. And that was really what I
Look
needed
at our
to know.
community and what they did, what they've done. I mean, we have a levy that we passed
Mhm.
a while back that we reduced
Mhm.
to get it through the public here.
Yep.
I don't think our public's expecting us to be attacking them on a whole bunch of extracurricular items.
Yep.
I think we need to do the best job we can
Yep.
to make that happen.
Yep. And Bruce, I agree with you. I think it's important to communicate what I've been hearing, with the questions. So, from publications perspective, so there's going to be information in the community brochure about the history, what it's doing, what we've used it for, how we would continue to use it. We are going to be building a district webpage. I know not everybody accesses that, but it is going to be a source to link to. I'm proposing doing bi-weekly press articles. I'm gonna try to target the ones that get into all the general mailers, not just the subscribers. So that we, because every other week, they send it to the general mailer. You know, it's not just the, subscribers. There is gonna be a video highlighting how our technology is used. And then, community, that actually went to community meetings. So,
I'm still stuck on mailing stuff to somebody.
so,
I know there's a cost to it. I know all of that, but it is gonna hit their mailbox.
Yep.
And our surveys get to everybody. Well, they're supposed to.
Yep.
In a timely fashion. And, all of that, but that's the only thing that gets to people. And there are lots of people, when you look at how it lays out, when we know by history, not just here, 25% of the votes are no votes to begin with.
Yeah.
We have to pass a vote by more than 50%. That means that we have 75% of the people, and we have to get at least 66% of them coming our direction on this thing. I don't believe that we are full of people that are not in our communication modes, that are against our school. I think they could vote because they don't have any information basis.
Yeah.
And if it's sitting in their mailbox, at least it's there.
and I've had a couple of conversations with staff. And so one of the things that I would like to know is what other thoughts do you have about publication, and whether it's a postcard, whether it's getting something into every mailbox again. I think there's some good discussion about that and what that looks like. Yep, I agree. Another thing that we've kind of kicked around administratively is just how can we use like a coffee and connections? So maybe we invite community members who aren't invested in the school, that maybe are struggling with their technology and they don't know how to use it. Let's have them come and have coffee and cookies with our kids, and have our kids show them how can we help you use this? One of the community ed meetings that we had, there was the Rose Center has done some work with this to try to have help people access their technology. What a better way to do that than using our students who do this all the time. They can just show individuals, not only, and you know what? I don't even care if they come in and just have coffee and connect with kids. It's just a different way to try to show our community that what they've invested in can serve them. It can help them in some way, shape, or form.
I'm 100% on page with that. Our sports activities do very well, but all the public is invited and they're there all the time. When it comes to our academics and tech being part of that, nobody sees it. It's just like we have these walls up. And if you had something where people could just come and roam, and it came up at some of those meetings from MSBA a number of times, to get your public in there so they can see what's happening. And I think that's a really good idea. Gonna have to put the coals on that one because there isn't much time left.
Yep, and what I was kind of thinking is after it's, I was thinking probably like once a month, and if we have a huge draw, we can do it more often, right? We could do it, every other week or whatever. Just, and I think doing it consistently so people know what to expect, whether it's the second Tuesday or the whatever. Just, and then we can push it out and have people spread the word.
Well, school is done about Memorial Weekend, and you only have a month and a half.
Yep.
And they're gonna vote in August.
Well, I think these are some opportunities we should have throughout the summer. Yeah, I think there's summer opportunities as well.
Yeah.
It's not just, and we'll have, there's a whole host of really, really vested kids that they want our community to understand the importance of our technology. So, I think there's ways to make it happen and then carry it through the summer.
Wasn't there something in the newspaper at the library that had something kind of
Similar?
Yeah, and I wonder, I don't know how well they did. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Maybe find out something like that, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have a brand new computer, and I'll be honest, I'm really lost with it.
Yeah.
Something that Let me know when you're gonna have
Okay, so-
coffee.
Maybe I'll have a program for you.
Every time I upgrade, I have to
Yeah.
start over. Yep. And you know, I think there's two benefits to that. One is they can actually, you can actually learn how to use your technology, but then you can also just get to see and meet some of our students.
Oh,
And our school becomes a very different place. You know, I hear the community feedback of you're not out here unless you need something. And I don't ever want that to be the true, honest, like, story. And I think I'm so proud of some of our student population that they go over to our assisted livings really frequently. They play cards, they do, I mean, they're just engaged to really create a connection. And so this is just another way in which we can do that. And it doesn't have to be, it would not be tied as a here and I'll vote for the levy. That's not what this is about. It's about serving our community and giving them an opportunity to learn from our students. So, okay.
My only thought for the summertime is if it could be when the students are there, you have these classes and all these kids are probably sitting in a classroom with a notebook in front of them.
Mhm.
And things like that, where people could walk by and see what's going on in there,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so they can see how it's affecting every single person in this school. And, I think summertime ones are great. First, gotta get the kids here.
Yeah.
They all have different schedules all
Yep, they
summer
sure
long.
do. Yep, they sure
But
do.
you got about a month and a half where they're still here. And I think the public walking through the school here is a big deal.
Mhm.
It's always been a security issue. Having
Agreed.
everybody walk through the school.
Agreed.
So you'll have to just, I don't know how you set that up.
We'll
Maybe,
figure it out. We can sign people in. We can walk them where they need. It's not, we can work through that. Yep. I mean, it's not gonna be a free for all.
see what's going on
Yes.
in here,
Yeah.
academics oriented.
Yeah.
And I think that it will go a long ways.
And to that point, Bruce, we are working to have a video that highlights how kids are every day using technology. And it is just part of like our existence because not everybody's going to make it in here. And then what do we do with that? Where do we put it? Maybe we put it on the live streams. Maybe we put it, it goes on to a page and when somebody comes in, we show them, hey, I'm just brainstorming, but we're intending to use technology to show how technology is used. Okay. So the other question I have is what are your thoughts on community meetings? We offered a few community meetings, last round. They were sparsely attended. I'll say, Ron, thank you for being at Sportsman's. I know you were there when we did our community meeting. But what are your thoughts on the community meetings? I know we need to go where they are instead of having them come to us. But I'm really open to ideas on how to get out into our community.
I think you need to find the groups that are already meeting, have a reason to meet. You can't just say, we're gonna meet at, the firehouse on Monday, come on out and learn it. But you go to the churches when they're in session. You go to the Lions Club, or the Lions Clubs, because we have more than one. Sometimes we think there's only one, but there's more. I don't know where else, but or I would host one at Alden Park and we could get 20 people from Alden Park who
Sure.
are, that's.
Yeah.
I just setting up random meetings doesn't.
It didn't seem to be super successful.
All my years on the school board, they have never worked.
Yeah.
They just make us feel good, like
We
we're
did it.
communicating with somebody, two people. I mean, yes, we have some people that they're gonna talk to, but it
Just-
doesn't go as far. What you're talking about,
Brainstorming about where are some of the groups we don't, how about going to the fire department meetings? They meet every Monday, don't they? Every
Monday, yeah.
there's only 15, 20 of them, but those might be some people that never vote.
Yeah.
Um,
And I guess maybe what I'll do is if you have ideas of, no, I'll be honest, I don't want to just show up and have them be like, what in the world are you doing here?
Yeah.
Because I feel like you have to have, they need to be receptive to
Right.
the conversation. So,
Mom have agendas and they need to be on the
Yes.
agenda.
yep. So if people have ideas of who you think I should reach out to and contact, let me know. And then, I'll reach out and I'll get those things scheduled. and just,
Personally, if you put together a nice video of what we got going in here, that would work almost everywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be lengthy. Get it too long, nobody's gonna pay attention anyway. And then have your verbal conversation, before or after that a little bit.
Yep.
And that way you're kind of in and out, everybody sees what's going on, but picture's worth 1,000 words.
you bet. Okay. So then my next question is, would you like to have Ellers available to talk through the tax capacity and the tax impact for all property types? So one thing that is different about capital, the capital project levies, is that it is applied to everyone in the in our community. Our operating referendums, remember our seasonal recreation owners, they are exempt. Okay, so this is different. This is just like a bond. Okay, so I think, would you like to have Ellers available to talk through so that as board members, when you get questions about how does this work and what's the deal with the tax capacity and what's all that all mean, would you like to have them to talk with?
So
Yeah.
to show up to a meeting like this, but why can't we put the meeting to invite anybody that's interested in the levy coming up and they can get the information?
Yeah.
Same time we do from Ellers, but maybe in a room like this,
Sure.
rather than sitting on a couch or at a specific meeting. As for, and then they usually have the printed data.
Yeah.
So when you go out to make presentations, the other group, they can get the printed data.
Sure. Would you like that to be scheduled outside of a board meeting? Or would you like that to, because we have April 23rd is our next business meeting. And then we have May 7th, which is the middle of the day, our student meeting, we've got students coming in and doing presentations. Otherwise, and then we have to, do you need this before we authorize a question?
I don't think
so.
I don't think that myself or that us as board maybe need to, but I think it's important that we have them out to have that more depth
Okay,
discussion ahead of a vote.
okay, so,
I'm with you.
So the community can hear, because I think for the most part, we all generally understand the difference, the levies and the bonds and how that's worked, but just to have that more thorough communication for the community.
okay.
It could be a July meeting.
So then the dates are irrelevant. So I'm not gonna worry about that. Is there anything more that you need, from an education perspective to respond to questions about this proposed capital project levy? And you might not have that right now, and that's okay. But that's gonna be one of the things that I think is important for me to know is what other information do you need as board members? So that when you have questions, you're able to respond with information. And the tax impact is one piece, but is there anything else that you feel like you would need to know?
I always like to have a one-page bullets.
Yep.
Bullets on one page, possible question, quick answer. It's enough to get us through that. And if it gets further, we can dig out information for them.
Okay.
But there's things that maybe just the 2 or 3.27,
Yep.
that kind of stuff, what some of the numbers were.
Sure.
That's just what I like. And then I can just carry it with me.
Yep.
And at any point in time, anybody asks about it, or if I'm somewhere and it comes up, you got the bullets right there. And
Yep, I can do that. And then is there any other information that you need to make the determination about, the resolution on the ballot for May 21st? Okay. So that being said, that's all I have on the tech levy information. Okay. All right.
Okay, request for information round table. And
The only thing I'm gonna call out is just make a note that the Tuesday, May 7th meeting, it is an afternoon meeting.
what time is it?
1:30.
1:30.
1:30. So that's when we have student presentations. And then the May, the business meeting is 2 weeks after that, May 21st, but they're the first and third, not the second and fourth. So I just want to call that out. They were what was on the original approval of the board meeting list, but it's different. So just making note of that.
Okay, and we're adjourned.
Oh, I guess I'm sorry. That's all right.
Yep, no, we're on the,
I guess I asked that we're still on camera.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I guess I have to be, added to the agenda. I'll try to keep it at 5 minutes. I feel people are reading way into stuff, but I guess first of all and foremost, I want to apologize to the board, to teachers, students in the community. I guess I've been warned a couple times as far as during public comment to not show emotion. I'm gonna be honest with you, I got hearing aids now, losing my hair, not getting any prettier. I didn't take the time to watch myself on video. I guess I did stand up and clap, and at the taxpayers' expense, I did some training. Everybody did training as far as to show a united front, a respectful meeting. And I did not do that, okay? The other thing I want to point out is I am not anti-prom, okay? I taught Connie Messer, who I love dearly, and that other gal. I guess I wish I would have stood and applauded them also. I don't get myself in trouble. I hugged them outside. Connie Messer, we are on the same page. She's a wonderful lady and does a lot for the community. Another shout out I want to do is give a shout out to Tom Hupfer and Sam Hupfer, who put on a very nice demonstration for the FFA. I'm not on Facebook as far as to notice people. I feel that would just kind of get me in trouble, but I'm not going to write an article in the Paynesville Press, nor am I going to go on Facebook. Okay. A number of people have brought to my attention what prom means to them. Not to downplay anything, more power to you. I don't care if you spend $500 or $5,000 on a suit and tie or your dress, okay? Some people have told me that prom is one of their most glorious moments of high school, dating back 50 years. Whatever turns you on, okay? More power to you. If that helps you get through the day and you know, get a job and so forth. I am sorry if I offended anybody by applauding, okay? Been brought to my attention that a number of people feel that the need to go outside of the school district to guarantee a safe environment. I don't know if I'd make that guarantee, but free of drugs and alcohol and be in a safe, and the definition of fine dining, to each his own, okay? But I am an avid supporter of prom, and I still will be, and I totally understand people's wants and needs and expectations, and people want their kids to shine and have the very best. More power to you. I hope everybody shines. I had a couple of individuals even think that I should resign. I'm not going to quit, but I am at your mercy, okay? The board for breaking any rules or showing unprofessionalism. I will try to be more stoic and put on a good presentation and to look as a united board, because I know that is the goal here, to show a good front and to be positive to the community. So if I failed anybody, I am so sorry.
Thank you.
And I put my mercy onto you folks.
Thank you, Ron.
I do have one thing, if you don't mind, Ron, or Rick, and this has to do with the West Central Education District. I mentioned at the last meeting that they had a requisition out for an executive director. They have hired an executive director. May I say the name? Is that fine?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, it's Erin Hoffman. She has accepted it. She will take over as the executive director for the 24-25 school year. And what's very important with this, especially with them moving some education opportunities down here into the Paynesville School District area of the 4 districts that they have, Paynesville selected to do the continuing education for the 18 to 22-year-old, folks now. And, so this will be, a very strong support of that and continuing education of that. So, like I said, on behalf of the West Central Education District, there is a new executive director. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? We're adjourned.
All right.